Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the show. Today we have Lynn, Ianni, who is a psychotherapist. We're super excited to have you on the show. Thanks for joining on.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So today we're going to be chatting, hopefully about a lot of things, but really the main topic is this kind of wellness, how pickleball can kind of play into our overall wellness, maybe how that connects with therapy, and we'll just kind of see where this chat goes. But maybe to start, just give us an intro to who you are, what you do, how you got into pickleball.
Okay. So I am a psychotherapist in private practice and have been for many years. And I started working with sports psychology a while back, had some professional athletes, but I just enjoy it so much because it's growth mindset. It's really about like healthy people getting healthier. And given that that's sort of a universal wish. It just lends itself in so many ways to what they do professionally, but we can all do personally and socially. So it's sort of has spread out into the rest of my practice as well. Just the same concepts because they apply no matter what kind of things you're undertaking and what endeavors you're participating in. So yeah,
That's
I love
great.
it.
Yeah.
Oh, wait,
So
one
how,
more thing. And I got
oh,
into
yeah, good.
pickleball. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
I had two knee replacements a couple of years ago. And I'd always been active beforehand, but it was so debilitating not to be able to do much for a while. And I used to play a lot of tennis and then I couldn't anymore. So I
Yeah.
decided that maybe I would try pickleball and literally fell in love. Like I play
Yeah.
5 days a week. I'm crazy about it. I'm moving right now to a different state. And frankly, like I'm going to miss the pickleball experience
Mm.
within our community more than anything else. I mean, I'm going to see my friends,
Yeah.
so
Yeah. Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
not like that, but yeah, it's really, I love it. It's great.
That's great. Yeah. 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 I think it's funny because I come from tennis world too. So
Mm.
just hearing so many stories of that where pickleball is kind of this easy avenue when maybe you can't play the sport you used to play growing up.
Exactly.
And just allowing these kind of people to get back into play and sport and
Right.
have that kind of connection there. So I guess moving kind of just directly into the mental health benefits of just we always like to say the power of play around here, just because like there's something kind of unique about pickleball where it's a sport. You can get really competitive, it can get really intense, but at the core of it, it's kind of this, like, it's just something that we go down and we play. Unlike other sports, I feel like where there's a little bit more of that upfront. You got to practice, you got to train, you got to know what you're doing to go in. Pickleball is a little bit like in 5 minutes, somebody brand new can get in and play, and maybe they're not that great, but they're having a fun time. And so maybe we just talk about how kind of these non-competitive aspects of pickleball really play into kind of that mental health aspect.
Yes. And wellness psychology, because
Yes.
I think you're absolutely right. There's so many benefits on so many levels to just participating in a sport and to being social
Mm.
and to being more recreationally based than competitive, because that lends itself to feeling good about the experience instead of only good if the experience ends in a win.
Mm.
So that
Mm.
element is really significant. And the other piece is, you were talking about like how we can sort of validate our own prior abilities and stay in a place where you feel like you do something good enough. There's a
Mhm.
way that we talk to ourselves and our cognitive process and the way that we have like that internal dialogue going on when we go out there and we can get better at something. So there's a level of improvement and there's a kind of paying more attention to getting being the best you can be instead of some outcome at the end of it or how well somebody else is doing at it. It shifts the whole focus to being in the moment and being physically healthy and being mentally healthy as a result of all those things in sort of a loop. So if you think positively about yourself
Mm.
and others, you feel good. When you feel good, your physiology changes. You have a much better balance in the biochemical processes in
Mhm.
your brain. And
Mm.
that lends itself to physically and emotionally feeling much more well than we would ordinarily if we're just sitting down scrolling or doing
Yeah.
something else, you know?
It's funny because you put into words essentially what all of us, I feel like, experience on a small level.
Mhm.
So it's like we all instinctively know this once we've joined in,
Yeah.
just kind of the community aspect and the play aspect and just kind of the fun of it and getting outside and all these kind of benefits to it. But you're kind of putting it into words for us. So
Good.
yeah, I think it's such an interesting concept. Pickleball for kind of therapeutic mental health connection. So, is that something you recommend? Like, if somebody comes in to you and is working through other stuff with you, is that something that you're pointing them to? Like, hey, it doesn't necessarily need to be pickleball, but like, are you pointing them outside? Is that like part of your practice?
Absolutely. And for a couple of reasons. One is the social aspect. So I do recommend it to anybody who is looking to get into a relationship because when you engage in something that is beneficial, pleasurable, all that sort of stuff, and it's a really strong interest that you have, if you meet somebody in that context, you've already got something in common that's really different from a photo on an app.
Mm-hmm.
So, and it's social and it's community and it's connected to others in a way, again, that feels more like you're, it's because of the framing of it being a positive experience. And, it's not about winning some trophy for most of us.
Yes.
Um,
Right.
it's not there. That negative stuff doesn't kick into your brain as much. So it's just about connection instead of maybe protection because you're not being self-critical as much.
Mm-hmm.
You're not expecting yourself to be like incredibly good at this, but you feel good because you can say to yourself in your cognitive thought process, I'm okay, you're okay. You're not scaring yourself. You're not
Mm-hmm.
sitting in some sort of self-critical regret mode.
Right.
And part of that is because you're in the present. So like fear or anxiety, the stuff we suffer with, future, right? What
Mm-hmm.
if you're scaring yourself when you do that, either sort of subconsciously or consciously, you feel anxious. And when you feel anxious, your body creates chemicals that sort of correspond to that. Behaviorally, it makes you potentially withdraw or trigger in some way so that you go into a protective strategy. If you're self-critical, you're probably in a space where you're judging yourself or you have some regret about something. That's all past, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you go in that direction, you're going to feel more depressed than anxious, but same stuff, bad chemicals, bad
Yeah.
physiological response or behavioral pattern. And the presence of mind that is required to just like stand there on a court and be like, oh my gosh, I'm right here, right now. Take a moment of mindfulness is
Mm-hmm.
amazingly beneficial for everyone at anywhere or doing
Mm-hmm.
anything. But because you get it in that moment, you have a feeling of gratitude and the looping changes positive, positive, positive thoughts. Positive thoughts create positive feelings. Positive feelings create physiological responses that go along with that. You're physically healthier, mentally way stronger, and emotionally you feel good.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I could see how that is because, and especially in pickleball where, you're at the net, you can't think about other stuff.
Yeah.
Where, I used to play soccer a long time ago
Yeah,
and
me too.
I was a defender. So like there was a lot of time where, I mean, the field's huge, right? Like I'm watching, but like I have time to think about what I want to think about. So
Yeah.
pickleball, you have to be there. You can't
Yes.
think about other stuff. And so it does kind of clear that a little bit. And then when
Yeah.
you're off the court, hey, you got the community aspect. You're not really thinking about, hey, I gotta go do this or that, or gotta track down this. You're kind of right there with the community. So
Exactly.
going more into that, like, I mean, I feel like the community aspect is unique, primarily because it's all ages, all life
Exactly.
stages. How does that? I mean, that's super interesting to me because I'm going down and there's I know 7-year-olds that I mean that's just unique. There's other sports that have that kind of drop in type
Yeah.
of play, but not at the
No.
age range and
Right.
where you can all connect together. So is that something that you're seeing as like a benefit?
Absolutely. It's multi-generational and it's more about skill set and levels of, kind of, I guess just levels of performance. But in that way, like, you asked me a minute ago about referring people
Yeah.
in terms of the aging process and how I mean, you almost feel immune to aging when you're on a court. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah.
It helps you not feel like you're grieving. Oh my gosh, I used to be able to do this and now I can't. Because you can do it
Right.
well enough to be able to
Yeah.
enjoy it and connect with other people who enjoy it as well. So yes, community huge. Plus,
Yeah.
the whole thing about aging itself is that one of the biggest factors in people getting depressed as they get older is that they're isolated. So there's just the
Yeah.
societal stuff, the social piece that makes that shift all the time. And then the physical benefits of it. There's a study I think they did recently where I read that your longevity increases actively and your healthy level of longevity. I mean, your quality of life is 10, you get 10 more years of quality of
Wow.
life if you
Yeah.
engage in racket sports. And part of that is the social benefit as well
Yeah.
as the physical benefit. So it's really, really good for us. And I refer everybody to it because of that.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I know. I kind of brought up this the last time I talked about kind of this idea, and it's those I think they're called blue zones, right? Where
Yes.
there's these people that have lived kind of longer than the norm, and one of the concepts is this kind of tight community.
Uh-huh.
Um, and I just think of that as like, I think it's a kind of a foreign idea these days, where there's this kind of community around specific things.
Mhm.
It's kind of more siloed off these days, and so I think bringing that back. I mean, I've never seen the parks as busy as they are. I've
I
never seen
know.
the community centers as busy as they are, and it's all pickleball. So it's super cool to see those things kind of being revived and
Yeah.
utilized, but then also just the benefits. I mean, it's so cool to just have stats as well, to
Yeah.
prove that what we're witnessing in real time. So,
Yes. And because
uh,
you're playing doubles, it also sets up
mhm,
a neat thing where you're connecting to different people, like even just through the choreography of being on the court and trying to play well
yeah,
together. So
right,
that in and of itself, I mean, where do you ever get to do that?
yeah, I
Like you
know.
we're
I
mostly like parallel play, right? But the interactive play is a whole other level of
right,
connection, which then keeps you away from feeling isolated and it
hmm
doesn't invite you to feel, negatively. So you don't trigger into some protective strategy instead of a connective one, which is
true,
synergistically great for everybody. So
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. It's great, love it. Okay, so let's see. We got kind of already talked about this. I don't know if we want to go deeper into like kind of just the physical activity aspect for your mental health. I know we all kind of know that getting outside and doing something is good, but is there like an encouragement there just
Yeah.
for people?
Sure, because I think that commercial that was like, "A body in motion stays in motion, a body at rest stays at rest." That is
Okay, yeah,
totally true. It's totally true. When your circulation increases, again, everything that happens is so connected, mental, emotional, physical, right? It's literally the heart of therapy itself. Cognitive behavioral therapy. It has that emotional piece built in the middle, but basically that's what it is. The physiological part is critical because it actually changes mood as well as body chemistry, biochemistry, brain chemistry, all that kind of stuff. So it's if you're moving, you're increasing your circulation. You feel so much younger and you feel like you're still active and involved even when, you are aging. That's
mm,
huge. So,
hmm,
it's interesting you were asking me about the sports psychology piece of it. Even in professional athletes, like their longevity in their particular field is short. But if they
mm,
find some way to extend their physical experience past those like incredible Olympic years, then it's a different if it's a different thing and it becomes a lifetime
mm,
like level of
yep,
wellness that they nobody could like actually experience unless they consciously intended to and recognize that it was a benefit in that way. You know what I mean?
hmm, yeah.
I mean,
I
when
think
have we
everyone,
ever heard of older
yeah.
people doing sports like this? Never.
No. Yeah, I mean, golf, I guess, maybe, but not at the like kind of physical level that
Yeah.
pickleball is, right? And in the community level too. I mean, there's a little bit of
Yes.
that buddy buddy at the golf course, but I mean, we're not necessarily just meeting up with our friends. We're meeting up with a bunch of other people that we don't maybe know, or maybe that we do know from
Yeah.
just kind of the dropping in. So I love that. And I think too, like, I like the idea of, I think we all kind of think that there's some sort of golden year for, you know, being active. And then after that, it's kind of downhill
Yeah.
and I can't be active anymore and my body's going to break down. But it's kind of pushing against that kind of notion a little bit and just finding where you can be active, right?
Right.
And finding ways to be active. You know, I was talking to a mom that was down at the court, you know, like a year ago, and she was really into ultimate frisbee.
Mhm.
Couldn't do that anymore. She had 2 kids. She's like, I don't want to. I keep pulling my, you know, ACL and all this stuff. So she is playing pickleball now. And I was just like, that's so cool that people, you know, are migrating to something and finding a way to continue that,
Yes.
just at a different level or a different way. So
Yeah, exactly. And what would they be doing if they weren't playing pickleball? If it didn't exist, they would be
yeah,
sitting around somewhere, it
right.
would, because they can't do like runs or those,
Right.
those really significant activities physiologically anymore. Like, and so
Hmm.
they've got an alternative now that didn't exist before this. Great.
Yeah. No, it's super cool. Okay. So let's see. We want to talk about like kind of, I don't know, embracing that kind of idea of play. And maybe someone that isn't playing pickleball right now, it maybe sounds kind of silly. And maybe that's part of like why we
Kind of
all like
silly
it,
name.
but it's silly name, sounds kind of funky. Everyone's
Yes.
playing it. What's kind of the encouragement just to not even necessarily for pickleball, but like in general, like finding something that you can kind of just let go, that performance aspect of it, and just kind of join in on the play or the community aspect.
Okay, two things. One is, we were talking about competitive versus
Mm,
cooperative, right? And if you ever played sports in a competitive way, you kind of have that frame as you move into the pickleball community, which doesn't
right.
hold when you're not going to be tournament level, really. It
Mm,
just,
yeah.
I mean, you can see like sometimes you read through some of the notes people have, or like, you start scrolling through the pickleball apps and websites and stuff. And people are complaining about, calls and blah, blah, blah. And so it's all about
Hmm.
like, if they lose that sense of this is for enjoyment, it is for mutual benefit, and
Right.
they get back in their competitive headset, it doesn't work as well because
Mm,
if they could just shift the headset to the only person you want to be better than is who you were the day before,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And
Right.
that's your benchmark. So you're looking at your unforced errors getting less over the course of
Right.
time or increasing some sort of strategy skill set that you didn't have before as you develop and as you continue to improve.
Hmm.
And that's the piece. You can continue to improve where in those sports that were like super competitive, even the professional ones, you're going to hit a plateau at
Hmm.
some point or the peak, and then you're going to start diminishing. And that feels awful,
Yeah.
right? Because it's
Yeah.
just like a loss instead of something that can continue at some level. The level might be a little
Hmm.
bit less, high in the
Right.
rankings, but it's not like the level internally changes as long as your expectations of yourself are reasonable and you're as gentle with you and your partner and your opponents as you are with like as you would want somebody to be with you.
Right.
You know what
Right.
I mean?
Right.
So how do you talk to yourself when you miss a point? And do you blame your
Hmm.
partner for it? All those things do not set it up.
Hmm.
If you're doing
Yes.
negative self-talk or you're sort of judging other people or you're in that headset about winning and, there's no way that that's going to wind up having the same back end benefits,
Mhm. Yeah.
right?
No, it is jarring when somebody comes in with that mindset and it's like, okay, I drop and play, everyone's having a good time. And then you play with that person. You're like, whoa, what's going on? Like, okay, they're all super intense all of a sudden.
Yeah.
Okay. Now it's not fun. I'm not allowed to say good shot to my team. You know, it's like,
Yeah.
okay, it got intense really quick, like as if we're at a tournament. So it is kind of what you want to get out of it, right? If
Yes.
you're looking for competitiveness, you can find it obviously in pickleball.
Exactly.
Um, but we're kind of steering people towards, hey, how do you find the like fun and the therapeutic and the wellness aspect of
Yes.
pickleball, and that does look different. So yeah,
Exactly. And that's the sweet spot. And that's the
yes,
the permanent sort of every single day you're out there opportunity to
hmm,
be grateful and in the moment and enjoy something that brings you true joy instead of just
yeah,
a moment of pleasure when somebody hands you a trophy. It's a different thing.
right, right, yeah. And there's always more that you're gonna try to go after as in the competitive world. Like you
Sure.
always want to climb that ladder versus, hey, this
Right.
is just fun and I'm happy to have fun. So
Yes, exactly.
yeah,
And again,
so
if
it's
the
way more
frame is I
sustainable.
want to improve, all good. If the frame
Yeah,
is I have to beat somebody else, you're going to
sure.
set it up to feel bad at some point. And
Yeah,
the highs and the lows start getting too dramatic to be really like something permanently pleasurable and beneficial.
yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have any other kind of tidbits you want to leave us with
Well,
in those regards?
I think it's really important to listen to yourself in the way, because you know how you said you're really present when you're doing it, and
Mm,
reflexively, like, you're standing at the kitchen and you have to be there, or else,
yeah.
you're not going to be on the corner very long. So in that way, that capacity gives you a way to be in your flow. Do you know what I mean? Like the endorphins kick in, all of
Yeah.
that stuff happens. I don't know how you even get that on a daily basis in any context that isn't connected to physiology, right? Like, if you're not doing something actively on a daily
Mm-hmm.
basis, you can't experience that. And so you're not really allowing your life to be full and
Right.
as fulfilled as you can possibly make it. It really gives you a way to maximize the potential for your mental health and your physical wellness in one moment. It's incredible.
Mm,
It's just really
yeah.
good. Yeah.
That's powerful. Yeah. And I
But
love how the sport is so accessible too. It's just,
yeah.
you can get in on a really low, cheap level. It doesn't take a lot. It's not you don't need to have a club membership. You just need to show up. So, and someone will probably lend you a paddle too. I mean,
Yeah.
I was down there the other day and they're like, "Hey, Blake, jump in." Well, I forgot my stuff. I was just here to do something else or play with my kid. I can't remember, but they're like, "Oh, we got extra paddles." So people
Yes.
are totally happy to
Yeah.
lend a paddle, lend a ball, and help you out.
Yeah,
So
it winds up,
beautiful.
if you structure it that way, it winds up feeling like a giant extended family where we're all
It
sharing
is,
something
yeah,
that we would never have been able to share before.
right.
It's yeah, it's great.
That's great. Okay, so kind of closing out. Let's say somebody wants to get in contact with you, would love to kind of um, you know be more on one. Is that something you're still gonna do with the move,
Oh,
or
yeah. I
okay,
s I still retain my license in California, and I
yeah,
also have one in Washington where I'm moving, and I have a website. It's just drlynyanni.com, but
great,
dr,
yeah,
not the whole word. And I'm always open to doing that kinda, telehealth if they're not, local to one of those places. And
sure,
it's that's my favorite thing as well. Like, there's
yeah.
that's probably my second favorite thing. I wouldn't rank them, but you know what I mean? I don't want to rank anything because that makes
There,
them good, bad stuff happen. We don't want that. But
nice,
like,
yeah.
I love it. And it's so fun because it's the same thing. If you feel like you're, as a therapist or just as a friend or as a partner or anything, if you're in that space where you're like, I feel good, I'm okay, it's automatically easier to say, and so are you. And then so are we,
Mhm. You
so
kind
it
of pull
benefits
people
you.
into that orbit.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
Mm,
So it improves your relationships as well as your mental health and your physical health, all the way around. I love it.
that's great.
I love it.
Okay,
Yeah,
I think that's a good place to stop.
good.
Thanks for jumping on, and it was
Thank
great chatting
you.
with you. You left us with a lot to think about.